Title: Excluded from my daughter's Paris wedding I helped fund. She suggested I watch via Google Maps. I responded, "Have a great day." The next morning, my phone buzzed relentlessly with her calls, but I was far too occupied to answer. Chapter 1. The email that shattered my heart. I'll never forget the moment it landed in my inbox. 10:42 p.m. I just returned from my evening stroll, poured myself a glass of cold tea, and settled down to sift through my emails. Amid the usual clutter, utility bills, a bank alert, and some spam subscription, was her message. Subject: "No offense, Dad." I clicked, expecting something routine. Instead, I read, "Hi, Dad. I'm thrilled to share that Ryan and I are getting married in Paris next month. The chateau is secured, the guest list is set, and I can't wait to wed the love of my life surrounded by those who mean the most to us. Weddings can get complicated, so we've decided not to invite you. It's not personal, just keeping things smooth. If you want to feel involved, maybe check out the chateau on Google Maps. You might spot some of the celebration. Take care, Sophie. Asterisk. No invitation, no real explanation, just a dismissive chuckle and a virtual wave, as if I were some distant acquaintance. What hurt most? I'd paid for that chateau. $45,000 wired without hesitation when Sophie and Ryan couldn't cover the deposit. I thought I was securing her joy, her future. I didn't respond. I didn't rage or weep. I just leaned back, stared at the screen, and let a faint smile cross my face. That night, something in me changed. I was no longer the father pleading for a place in her life. I became a man who planned with cold precision. Chapter 2. The quiet before my retribution. I didn't call her, didn't demand answers, didn't ask why. I already understood. Since Ryan entered her life, Sophie had shifted. The warmth in her voice faded. Gratitude turned to entitlement. Thanks, Dad became "you owed me that." After her mother's passing, her calls stopped unless money was involved. Yet I sent every dollar she asked for, my mistake. Her email laid bare the truth. I wasn't part of her new world. I was just the bankroll behind it. So I got to work. I gathered every financial record from the past 3 years. Every transfer, receipt, and invoice. Beyond the chateau, I'd funded their condo deposit, Ryan's failed app venture, Sophie's wedding gown, plane tickets, custom furniture, even a trendy puppy for her social media aesthetic. Total, $138,000. You'd think that would have earned me a chair at the venue. Apparently not. I reached out to an old friend in Paris, Marcel, a lawyer I'd once bailed out of a bad deal. "Marcel, can you check if Chateau de l'Amour is booked under my name?" After a pause, he confirmed, "Yes, you paid in full. The reservation hasn't been transferred yet." "What?" "Because," I said, "we're making some adjustments." Over the next 5 days, I legally redirected the chateau reservation out of Sophie and Ryan's names, as they never had legal rights to it. I then leased the venue to a luxury jewelry brand shooting a campaign that same weekend for a tidy profit. The cancellation terms? Harsh. The penalties for international guests left with no event? Brutal. But I wasn't finished. I booked myself a serene getaway that same weekend, somewhere without signal or Wi-Fi. Just tranquility. I wanted her desperation to echo unanswered. Chapter 3. The wedding that never happened. Sophie arrived at Chateau de l'Amour in a cream-colored vintage Bentley, her veil flawless, a glass of Prosecco in hand. Ryan sat beside her, smug in his tailored suit. Her phone pinged, with excited messages and Instagram stories from her influencer friends already at the gates. But something was off. No valet rushed to open their door. Instead, a security officer approached with a tablet. Names. Sophie Carter. The bride. She declared confidently. The officer frowned. There's no booking under that name. The chateau is reserved for a private shoot by Bijou Eclat. No guest permitted. Ryan leaned in. There's a mistake. We paid. Correction. The officer cut in. Someone paid, but not you. The reservation reverted to the original payee 5 days ago. The shoot's underway. Just then, a swarm of models and crew bustled past, cameras flashing. A famous director shouted orders in French, while elegant signs declared, *private event. No entry. Sophie's face drained of color. This is my wedding venue, she shrieked. Her friends' cameras were rolling, capturing the chaos. What's going on? Where do the guests go? One asked. Panic spread like wildfire. A friend whispered, Why isn't your dad here? Didn't he book this place? Sophie scrambled for her phone, dialing me frantically. I didn't answer. By noon, I had 13 missed calls. At my remote lakeside cabin, far from any signal, I sipped chamomile tea and grinned. She mocked me, told me to watch via Google Maps. Now, her guests were the ones watching her unravel. And that was just the beginning. The financial records, contracts, and Ryan's shady app funding were about to resurface. Legally. Chapter 4. When her world fell apart. By 3 p.m., Sophie and Ryan sat in their limo on a quiet French lane, humiliated and speechless. Her eyeliner streaked from angry tears. His phone was dead from endless calls to vendors, caterers, photographers, and furious guests. Why did your dad ruin everything? Ryan snapped. He didn't ruin it, Sophie mumbled. He paid for it. Or so I thought. She opened her email, scanning the wedding contracts, venue, catering, photography, all prepaid. Then she saw the updates. Astor's client, Sophie Carter, contract voided. Rights transferred to original payee per clause 4C. Payee, David Carter. Asterisk, her stomach dropped. Ryan peered over. He owns a venue. She nodded slowly. Not just that. I'd been too busy to answer her calls, hadn't I? I was consulting my lawyer and a forensic accountant I'd hired 6 months earlier when Sophie started hiding transactions, opening secret accounts, and funneling our joint funds into Ryan's business. She thought I was oblivious. But I built that business, funded every cent, and embedded ironclad control clauses in the agreements. Ryan's startup? Legalimine. At the chateau, the shoot was wrapping up. I'd personally called the director, offering the venue free of charge with one condition: no one in a bridal gown gets in the frame. That night, Sophie posted a vague Instagram story. Asterisk, sometimes those you trust hurt you in ways you never imagined. Stepping away for a while. Asterisk, Ryan's LinkedIn disappeared the next day. His app venture collapsed when its accounts were frozen pending a court review of ownership. And me? I was kayaking on a serene Swiss lake, alone at peace. My daughter had belittled me, used me, and flaunted her ingratitude. I hadn't raised her to be this way, but I wouldn't bankroll it either. Now she knew what it felt like to lose it all in one calculated, quiet move. Epilogue: a life without her. 6 months later, I sat on the deck of my Vermont retreat, a warm mug of cider in hand, watching the sun dip behind snow-dusted hills. No chaos, no demands, just calm. My phone vibrated, breaking the silence. Sophie again. She tried everything since the wedding fiasco: tearful voicemails, apologies, even a nostalgic photo of us from her childhood with the caption, "Can we be this again?" But the wound was too deep. She disrespected me, exploited my sacrifices, and mocked the father who'd given her everything. I tried to raise her with values, but she'd chosen entitlement and vanity. She and Ryan split 2 weeks after the disaster. When the money vanished, so did his devotion. He blamed her. She blamed me. The internet had a field day. A guest video of her meltdown went viral on TikTok. Bride abandoned at her own wedding after mocking dad who paid for it. 6.1 million views and counting. In her latest message, she wrote, "Asterisk, Dad, I was wrong. I don't want money. I want my father back. Please." Asterisk, I stared at the screen, finger hovering. After a long exhale, I typed, "When you learn to value people over image, we'll talk." Then I set the phone down and turned back to the sunset. Forgiveness takes time, and sometimes peace outweighs Paris. Was my response justified? Share your thoughts below. What would you have done? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and follow Sarah's Tales for more gripping stories of betrayal and justice. Because here, every deception meets its consequence, and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay wise, stay bold, and stay tuned.